at any moment from now, but we want to see how we can kick off immediately now. But I just want to reflect on a number of things which we had experienced since we came. The level of commitment, the level of dedication are quite unparalleled. The way people have been engaged in the entire process shows the commitment and the dedication to facilitating development at localities. And I just want to really appreciate all our chiefs that have been here, the private sector, the head of government, the UN, the civil society organization, as well as the media. You have contributed to what we have been able to achieve so far, and we really want to give everyone. And I think this is really something that is highly commendable. On this note, I would like to call on the representatives of the three groups, those that will be speaking on their behalf, to give us a kind of feedback. The Business Solution Center, who is doing that? Oh, yeah, the chair is there. No. Yes, may I call on Tutusela Centers? Who is doing that? Tutusela Centers, please come.
Thank you.
And the Tucson Centers. Yes, please come up. Please come up. Yeah, please give a round of applause to the three of them. We will, I know, is 5 minutes okay for the feedback for each of you? Is 5 minutes okay, or you want us to do it 10 minutes? Not more than 10 minutes. So I know, see, one thing I know how to use very well is the yellow card and the red card. So 10 minutes, please come up. Huh? Okay. Our IT colleague, we want to make a presentation. Can somebody help us out? While you're trying to help us on that, can we probably, I will then ask another center to start, so while you're trying to do that. Ricardo, they said we need somebody to help us out on the PowerPoint presentation. So while that one is going on, probably I will start with the Tucson Center. But before then, the idea is for us to focus on about three main issues. What are the key issues we found on the ground? The way forward, including the role of the various actors, the role of the government, not too generic, not only the national government in terms of COGTA, but also the role of the province, the role of the municipalities, the role of the UN, the role of the private sector, the role of the society and the civil society organizations. Now, the last thing is, what must we do differently to achieve results? So these are the things we want to really see how we bring all this together within 7 to 8 minutes. And the idea is for us to really use some of the things we are harvesting here to go back into the One District, One Plan initiative, so that at least it helps us to really galvanize some of the ways to translate the DDM into concrete development actions on the ground. So with your indulgence, let me call on the person that is going to speak on behalf of the Tucson Center to kick off the process. So the next 10 minutes is his. But while he's doing that, please, colleagues that want to help us with the PowerPoint presentation, please help us connect it. Oh, you want to make presentation too? You want to make presentation too? Then, sorry. Oh, you said? Okay. But where? Oh. Where's your laptop?
Is it showing? It's showing?
Yes, it's showing.
Okay, I can start.
Just to let you know, this is the Business Solution Center, not Tucson
Yes.
Center.
Yes, that's a full day session on Business Solution Center. No, good morning, is it? Good morning, colleagues. I'm delighted to actually present on behalf of our group that had, and I'll show you, we had about 40 participants. We did have a group of the UN, but also the biggest group, I was very pleased to have colleagues from COGTA, from the municipality. We did have a private sector, we had institutions, we had SANCO, that actually it was association of business community here. And so we are presented at all levels. And the engagement was quite owned by all the groups. We are very happy that we are facilitated by our colleagues that really own the development model, and they were very active, so it was a very exciting team. Now, to set the stage, we had a set of objectives that were actually anchored on the joint work plan. And so I don't want to go back to the joint work plan because we know that for Business Solution Center, it is actually a center that actually would like to really open up opportunities, unlocking opportunities for economic value chain and in the sectors that colleagues in consultation had defined. And so the objective was basically the purpose, how do we actually create a business solution center to bring various business services under one-stop center, one roof, and to fill in the gap in order to make an impact on the lives of people in ORT. And so we did discuss to understand the context, determine what is available, what is not, identify the gaps and the needs. And once this is done, then we went into discussing what could this center offer, in what way, and also identify what type of resources, West technical resources, financial resources, that this center would actually offer. And finally, we came up with a plan, and we call it a plan. I don't know whether it would be an implementation plan because the other processes were agreed what we could actually include. And so it was very engaging. We could see that we had a group of about 40 participants from the different key stakeholders that we had. And so this is exactly what the picture was. And so I'm pleased now to just highlight what these plans. This is how it looks like. We came up with about, and I'm not going to go in details, we will share this report, but tentatively, we came up with about 11 outputs. 11 outputs. And you will be pleased to note that these outputs really anchor on that were already defined in the joint work plan. To sort of unlock the opportunities, enhance that the entrepreneurship and the benefits spill over to all the populations in ORT, of course, even transform the economy. I will not go into the details, but you could see it's gone into either sectors, the key sectors being water was very prominent. in agriculture, but also improving on what is already existing. There was a lot of emphasis on the green economy, the importance of also the ocean economy, and these are the sectors. What actually was also interesting is recognizing that the cooperatives that exist and SMEs, they are there, but the database are so disjointed, they're not comprehensive, and so because of that, the solutions are being provided, they're also disjointed. And so this one-stop the center, the Business Solution Center, would actually provide the opportunity for coherence in database, which will actually help to identify the challenges with these businesses. Building and skills development was so, it anchored in everything. And so you could see how the issues were discussed in the past 2 days, also anchored in the importance of this Business Solution Center. Other than just the interventions, what was very interesting was the group discussed what is already available. And so that we are not going to start from scratch. There is some initiatives that are available. So all these are identified, some by the outputs, but others are generic to all. And I'm not going to go throughout all of them because, of course, I have to save time for our colleagues who are leaving and so my colleagues can present. Also, an element that came out to be, okay, what are the gaps? Even though we have these initiatives, what are the gaps? And those gaps actually have been identified. I'll give you an example that was close to heart, which was actually expressed passionately. Water was one of them. But for me, it was the quality of wool production. Wool is produced here, but very limited value. And they're not the producers are not benefiting from the wool production. And so an example of say, well, we will need technical support. We will need skill training. We will need knowledge on how to get wool growing so that we can actually realize a better price and export. But also not forgetting the agro-processing part. They know who is there as an available actor, but they have identified, the group identified the gaps, the access to market, the whole range of infrastructure for this. And there are sectors there. We have the departments, the DSDB and agriculture and the DRDR, and in the private sector, the traditional leaders, the COGTA, farmers organization, and we're not forgetting SANCO, the business community. I just wanted to give an example that, you know, we do have what is available. We also identify the gaps, but also the expected partner. Now, we also discussed this morning, what else and what are the next steps? Some proposals. We realized, and it was emphasized, model. The key factor and why it was developed was action. We want immediate action and results. We will need quick wins. So we should not lose this sight of actually making sure that we can actually tease out the quick wins. There were discussions that from the local communities, which actually showed that we need maybe to really map and identify key stakeholders. And we're pleased that they led for this, that as we move to implement and gain quick wins, in less than 2 weeks, we will try to make sure that LED Forum is inclusive, involve our colleagues from business committee, from the universities to see how we could really harness from partnership. And so this is already a commitment from our colleagues. There also another commitment is maybe coming week, engage the business community forum who have actually been missing in the process. And so these are some of the discussions that where our colleagues actually realized they need to move on to make sure that this process is, and so this was really greatly appreciated. Another element was, if we have to do a crystal ball, the Business Solution Center, for it to happen and effective, number one, we have to be very clear of what we want to deliver. So refining and redefining, but not wasting time to make sure that we know exactly what it will deliver. and what we need as Business Solutions Center. The ideas that floated included a business center that is hybrid, but it should take into account the digital solution, because that's the direction we're going, the mobility of the center, the satellite, which definitely should be able to reach out communities, rural areas, and in particular, these disadvantaged groups, including particularly the youth and the women. And the big emphasis was, we're not building a new thing. It should build on existing initiatives. So this is what came out from the group. Again, thank you to the facilitator, the co-facilitator, the engagement, to the team, to all the participation. We did have an engaging and very productive session. So let me, on behalf of everybody else, give an applaud hand to the Group 1 on Business Solutions Center for really getting engaged and coming up with a product. Thank you. We can take it.
Thank you very much, Brave. I think you've been able to really address those issues that we saw on the ground and the way forward, as well as who does what. And I'm sure colleagues have taken note of some of this, and we just see this as the beginning of the process. We will talk about it, if we have time, in terms of additional amplifications, especially for those that are not in this group. But because of time constraint, I would like to move to the next one, since the Tucson Center are still waiting for ICT to come. I want to call on the Tutusela Center to really come for the presentation now.
I mean, you think it will work?
Can we have the other one? It's a small one. It won't work. This is wider. It's a smaller one. It's the same.
You have to have an external
You have to have an
HDMI
external
cable.
something to handle it. Do you have an external one? So, because all the new ones don't use this one. What do you do? Okay.
Just go ahead.
Present directly from there. So let's. Sorry, the cable is not compatible with this laptop. And the only thing is that it's denying us the opportunity of viewing it on the board. Yeah, you want to do that?
Puleng, do you have an extension?
Okay. So you want to, okay, yes. Where's yours?
Puleng,
Yours is
you have to
connected?
put it there. Yeah, you have to take it to the
We need an external cable that will be able to take care of this laptop. And I didn't come with mine. So. Where's stand by? So, would you be
Sorry,
able to?
excuse the water.
Okay, no water. There's water here. Be careful. Does it work with you? These are people using old laptop. Because this, yeah, it works. Yeah, you see? Is it good? It should be there. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Just go ahead. But start that you are from. You're presenting for Tucson.
Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Zwai Sokupa. I come from the District Development Model Hub, which is the DDM hub that has been established by government here at OR Tambo District. We've got 3 pilot sites for the DDM. in the country, one in Waterberg in Limpopo, the other at eThekwini Metro, and the third is here at OR Tambo. So I think we are pathfinders as OR Tambo in terms of the DDM, and the space and resources that have been provided by COGTA to establish the hub reflects and demonstrates the seriousness with which the DDM program is taken. I have chosen to be on the Tusong Centers group, particularly because this really, the Tusong Centers expresses all of government coming into a space and providing services in a center or at a centralized point. So in terms of the Tusong Centers, there are critical government departments that are supposed to provide services at a local level. Not one, not two, not three, but critical government services need to be provided there. So we visited, actually that is the intention. We visited 2 Tusong centers yesterday, which were at different levels of development and state. One is at Tombo in Port St. John's, and the other Qunu under the King Sabata Dalindyebo municipality. In terms of these two Tusong centers, we found the following issues. There is lack of overall host entity with accountability. In that there is no government department or government entity or municipality accountable as well as responsible for the centers themselves. Some of which were donations, for instance, by the Mandela family. Others were built by Public Works, and they were just a capital project that was put in there. And there was no proper provision for how government departments that are supposed to provide services there are going to be coordinated. So also the governance arrangement is not there. There are gaps in skills in terms of the center management and staff. There's need for understanding individual, intentions as well as historic intentions of these centers, and also to reassess where they are placed spatially and whether there are no duplications, there are no major gaps among them. So the issue of a database, a centralized database, in terms of understanding all these dynamics came out very, very sharply in the discussions that we had. The state of infrastructure is different in all these centers, and there's no operational model that actually says this is the benchmark for the center to be at this level in terms of infrastructure, levels of services, and so on. Also, we found a lot of security and physical infrastructure challenges associated very much with the issue of accountability and ownership. So, as the group, we identified, and this is a summary, colleagues, the following points for a way forward: that there should be an allocated host government department. In this case, COGTA in particular needs to take the central stage in terms of accountability. And through the DDM hub, pull in all these services and coordinate and create an implementation plan as well as an accountability for the services that are being offered there. There needs to be a robust engagement with local communities and relevant stakeholders like your traditional leaders, women, youth, elderly, people with living with disabilities and so forth, so that there is a kind of buy-in and accountability at those levels through government, The issue also of ownership speaks to the municipality being, the local municipality being in charge of the center that is closest to them or within their boundaries, so that the systems of the municipalities, like your lease agreements with tenants, procurement issues that are required and so on, can be taken care of within the municipal system and the government system. Also, we identified that we need to review and understand the original plan and intention that we can depart from as the baseline, and then conduct a local needs analysis, which is fresh and new in terms of services that are required by the locals. From that, we develop a business plan that speaks to these issues, issues of services that need to be provided, revenue generation, expenditure, management of the center, and so forth, with defined roles and responsibilities of all the participating entities. Also, we need to re-examine and assess, as I've alluded to earlier, geographic locations of these centers and establish accountability mechanisms in terms of these. And also we identified a role for the UN in that we need to leverage on the current agreements that are in place of support, as well as get as much as possible from training and skills development from the UN. There's technical support at the COGTA and district and local municipality level that is expected, as well as engagement with national government so that issues are raised, and also these Tusong centers and Tutuzela centers and business centers find expression within the one plan, which is the master plan for development in the longer term, as we know under the DDM. We also expect that the UN will support the centers with capturing best practice, leading in terms of exchange programs so that we can learn, so that these centers and these institutional arrangements can learn from each other and find synergies between projects and programs within the scope of the UN. That is our contribution on the Tusong centers. Thank you very much, colleagues.
Thank you very much, S.Y. Sokupa. You have done very well for the group and on behalf of everyone. And I just want to ask colleagues to give a round of applause for that group again. I think while trying to fix the connection issue with the next presentation, I want to use this opportunity to just bring in an interlude by calling on MMC in Bledley to just give us one second reflection, because some of our colleagues are going, and the government wants to really express their appreciation of their being here and the commitment as well as the dedication before they go to the airport now. So, MMC, are you here? Oh, yes. Oh, sorry, ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes. All right.
Sorry.
Thank you, Program Director, of this session, let me first greet the Honorable Chief Whip of the district and greet the MMCs that are here and greet all councillors of the OR Tambo district and all the councillors of the local municipalities here at OR Tambo, and greet the traditional leaders present here and greet our guests. When I'm greeting the guests, I know they have a leader. I'm greeting the leader first and then all of them. And then I also say the sectors that are here and the key sector departments that are here of Eastern Cape. I greet them in the name of Utata Oliver Tambo, of which our district is named after, and also not for Jesus Christ of Nazareth. I'm just sent here by the Honorable Executive Mayor, greeting her also in absentia. Her apology was done here. We know her whereabouts. Not that she's looking down at the event. It is because we're busy. We are very busy in the Eastern Cape and OR Tambo. I'm sent here to just say little words of appreciation, which is a vote of thanks. In our language, our guests, we just say thank you very much, whereby we say enkosi kakhulu. We have a value of Ubuntu, whereby it says, there's a book I once read, Troubled Waters, which says, I am because you are. Today, we have learned everything. You are here for the success of this district development model. Now I'm saying, when I'm summarizing, we are because you are. Because really, when we looked at the news, people were calling us that you are even visited by UN. UN is in the map of the world. That's why we say we really appreciate your presence here. I'm sent by Executive Mayor to say, ningaphezu kuza apha. You must keep on coming, monitoring all what has been planned here. The plan has been a success. As our culture, we are having a token of appreciation in the form of some little gifts. They come from the heart of OR Tambo. They are saying all the long speech, those gifts. I think Chief Whip, Honorable Ngongwa, must come and help me in giving the guests the presents. Never to me. I'm asking for Honorable Ngongwa, the Chief Whip, so that we do this exercise together. Do me come and help me with the names.
Including number 10, we were so first 6 are females, then the last 4 are males.
Okay. I'm very happy in the list there are females. I'll call at least a group of people because of time to come and stand here so as to receive the gifts. It's Bekele Thomas. It's a Miss And then it's Brave, Ndisale. Where are the people I'm calling?
Michael Thomas is the resident coordinator, abanye
Oh.
heads of agencies.
Oh, Ms. Bekele Thomas is the resident coordinator. That's why I'm calling her as the first one. Baze stage, but mabenze le stage.
With all protocol is observed, with this little appreciation, on a very historic month in our country, because today you are here, it's historic in the fact that on the 27th of April, 1994, people of this country voted for the first time for the democratic government. Once more, we have a history in this district that you brought to us. We will never forget that you were here. Therefore, we want you not to forget that you were here.
I'm going to wear everything.
Kusheke nje, yeke? Lizo wesibini ke nkolo yaba.
Akubanjwa kaloku, COVID, we don't hold hands.
The next one.
Yes, should like to say some words.
Okay.
You can have some words, man.
Spray.
Sanitizer. Sanitizer for the mic.
There goes the Tutusena Center. Or shall we give to everybody?
No, no,
can
you
speak.
can have a word, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I don't know, it's very emotional. Just to say thank you to the executive mayor and her colleagues, but also to everybody from here, the citizens and the population of OR Tambo. Thank you very much for this gesture. You know, I have been feeling, I mean, I'm an African, so I feel, you know, part of you, I'm one of you, and with this, I'm crowned to be, you know, someone from here. So It's not what we bring, but it's the passion that we bring with us. It's the heart that we bring to you. And we are joined here together because we are traveling the same journey. The second thing that I would like to say is that it's just a privilege actually, and a great honor to be doing what you love to do. So I feel always blessed to be in this business of development business or development practitioner. It's just a blessing because not everybody will get a chance to work and be paid for what you love to do, right? You know, so it's a blessing. The third thing that I would like really for you to understand is that we are paid to serve you. We are paid to serve the people. And, you know, it's again, you know, such a privilege to be recognized when you do something and people understand that you are coming not only with your head, but with your heart also. And we are very, very privileged to be with you. The United Nations is not about money. Our money comes from our donors, and we have to account for that. But the United Nations is the neutrality, is the passion, is the commitment, is the dedication to the people. And when we have partners in the government that are really sharing the same values, sharing the same commitment, sharing the same desire, then we can make a difference. So I think I can count on these districts, authorities, because I see that you're hungry to help the people. And then we can join hands. We can join hands. The 5 cents of each one of us will make a difference, you know, if we have really the same passion, the compassion, and the commitment. So I'm so grateful to the mayor. I'm grateful to your parliament. I'm grateful to the councillors. I'm grateful for all the political parties that take away their differences when it comes to development, because it's the people that vote, and it's only when they get the services that they can vote for you. And understanding that is very critical and very important. And we come here without no affiliation. We come here as a neutral international body that will see people coming up, rising up, and going to the Mandela house and opposite it, seeing this Tusong Center, which was empty, made me so sad yesterday. I said, Madiba is looking down and he's seeing at this building without anything, a skeleton. And that's not what he wants. And let his spirit of fighting, let his spirit of doing something, serving his people, reign with all of us. Amen.
Thank you. The next one is Brave Ndisale from FAO. Naize.
We just need to disclose what is inside. Otherwise, the office of the Honorable Chair over there, Honorable Gcinendawo, will take me to task on members' interest. We are African. Thank you. And the group.
Thank you very much. Olandelayo, it's Lily Sanya. Lily will you come forward?
We are also disclosing, this is coming from our hearts. Thank you.
The next one is N.
Coming from our hearts. She says, "Siyabonga." Can you repeat that?
Hungry. The other one is Beatrice Mutali. Beatrice Mutali.
From the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate your presence.
Thank you very much. Enkosi.
The next one is Akisheva. Akisheva. Sorry, maybe my pronunciation maybe is not. And then I think ngotata aba balandelayo. Mr. Ayodele Odusola. Akancotyiswe lo tata bayibona.
In terms of our tradition, when you're giving out a present to a man, there is an underlying factor. So, on a lighter note, so I am delegating these young ladies to do that for me.
Ambomfaka ingqini bakhe le nto utapula nto. Mr. Mbulawa Makeze Mugabe. Mr.
I think we can just
Mr. Mugabe. Mr. Masimba. Mr. Masimba.
Oh, he's gone to.
Okay.
Is he back? Yeah, Masimba's gone.
Mtateleni. Okay. It's Mr. Khaled.
Now he's gone.
So, am I the only one standing?
Baphelile ke ngonkokhelana. Ah. Okay.
Yes.
I think we have finished this phase.
Eunice?
Thank you, Chief Whip.
You wanted to say something?
Oh, once the elder has spoken,
Okay.
I think what I just want to do on her behalf is to say a big thank you again.
Okay.
So, MMC, it's really a pleasure. The Chief Whip, we really appreciate. As the resident coordinator has said, because where we come from in Africa, and as is the case here, once an elder speaks, the others have to toe the line. She has spoken, but I'm just re-echoing what she said. That's a big thank you. The UN is a neutral institution, and I'm sure from some time from now, we believe with your support and the support of all the people that have been participating in the process, we'll continue to see some kind of differences in those places we went to yesterday. Thank you very much.
Let me finish up the vote of thanks by thanking the team led by our acting MM, Umamutunywa. They have worked very hard for the success of the event. I mean the young women, the young men, the directors of the institution, everybody working in the institution for this to be a success. We are saying thank you very much. For those traveling, I'm saying happy landing with God guiding you. Kuthi thina balapha sihambeni kakuhle. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for the interlude. And we really appreciate the government and people of OR Tambo for the gesture they have shown to the United Nations system as a trusted partner in the development process. So we really appreciate. And let me just use this opportunity to go back to the original session. We still have one presentation to be made on Tutusela centers. And I'm going to call my colleague Anne, who is the head of UN, the chairperson of that particular group, to spend the next 8 minutes on the presentation. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Ayo. And I'm sorry to bore you after that excitement, but I hope that you will join me since it's the women of OR Tambo who are leading this process. I'm sure they will be most excited to hear about this part. So I'm going to do my best to go as quickly as possible, but just to say that with the TCCs, Tutuzela Care Centers, first of all, let me let you know that across the world believes that TCCs are the best model in the world. So we should congratulate ourselves for knowing that we have the best model in the world, and many people come to visit the TCCs. But we also know that because of the amount, the cases of gender-based violence we have in the country, the work of TCCs and all of the institutions around them is massive. And so we started to have a discussion yesterday before we went to our trip on what would we need to do if we wanted to create TCCs on steroids. So TCCs which even go further than what they do today. And so there were some ideas that started to emerge. And I want to point out one of the first things that was put on the table. The first thing that was put on the table is that if the TCCs are going to succeed, we cannot depend on Western Cape for DNA testing. There has to be a local DNA lab in OR Tambo, or at least in the Eastern Cape, so that it doesn't have to go traveling that way. I'm not going to talk about all of this now, the steroids, but just to say that there were some ideas on how to expand the TCCs by making sure we have 24/7 access, we have specialized prosecutors in the sexual offenses courts, we have much more work and engagement, particularly with men in terms of prevention, and so ideas on how to create this TCC on steroids. But then we went to visit, you know, and we'll come back to this, but as you can see, there was ideas about a virtual hearing room. How do we use technology also to enable us? So we decided to look at the fact that in May last year, President Ramaphosa launched the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence. The TCCs come in the context of that. And so our vision for the TCCs must reflect the context of the National Strategic Plan, which has 6 pillars. And so we organized our assessments based on these 6 pillars, and I'm going to run through them very quickly. But the biggest issue that has emerged on this one is that it is not clear where the ownership is of the TCCs. We know that right now it's in the NPA, but then it sits in in hospitals in most instances. And so, and it appears that there are no dedicated budgets for the Thuthuzela Center. So one is funded by UNICEF, another one is funded by the EU, another one is funded by other partners. And so there is a step, because without that, it continues to shift, and it's unclear where the TCCs should sit. So that's the issue of leadership and accountability, but also the fact that there's multi-sectors working together, and that infrastructure then must be provided for all the TCCs. The second one is the issue of prevention. It's good news to see that there are NGOs sitting in the TCCs like Childline. It was very good to see how the Mthatha TCC in particular, there is data being analyzed to inform prevention, to inform their work. There's a perpetrator treatment center, there's counseling provided, we've got all the different players in the Mthatha TCC. But when we went to St. Barnabas doesn't have most of this. They have very, very, very limited services compared to the services that are provided at the Mthatha one. So the Mthatha is the gold standard. St. Barnabas is one that is really, really lacking. And they shared some of the big issues and said, we really need, in prevention, to find ways to link the TCCs to community engagement, to stronger stakeholders. We need to mobilize the community for prevention so that the burden is not too heavy on the TCCs. Then we looked at justice. What worked well is high conviction rates. There's high conviction rates through the Mthatha TCC because they're able to collect the data and information very quickly. The facilities are there. There is hard work from the St. Barnabas. Even if they don't have the facilities, the doctors there, the team there, the CEO of the hospital are really pushing as best they can. And so this lack of DNA lab is a big issue for them. And so we really need to work on strengthening what we see there. The presence of the police, the prosecutors engaged, preparation for victims for courts. These are excellent, but we need more. Care and support, in some of them, there was such an imbalance in the facilities for care and support. St. Barnabas had really very little capacity to do support and follow-up of victims because it's so poorly resourced. Psychologists are not available all the time, doctors are not available all the time, and they have to beg and borrow resources from others. And so really the care and support that we saw positively in Mthatha is that people are able to get PPE, social workers are available, student doctors are engaged here, they work with HIV work. So this is positive. On the economic front, really the issue has emerged. There's a big economic pillar here, and we need to link this to the business centers as well as with Tusong, to say that, many of the women survivors, victims of violence, tend to be in the poorer part of the economy, and they really lack a lot of opportunity. And so we need to focus on investing in this in a big way. There's not much involvement of the private sector, nor with the SMME community. So there's really not much support for the survivors. But we really talked about trying to create the linkages. And we noted that somehow offenders, perpetrators, have more support, more skills development than the survivors. Because when they go into prison, the prison provides all kinds of facilities for them. But they don't do the same for the survivors. And we need to think about that. We need to look at how to really incentivize and encourage nurses to move more and more into forensic qualifications, because this is a skill that's lacking. So the issue of economic empowerment, a big issue that has emerged in the National Strategic Plan and with the TCCs. On resources and information, which is Pillar 6 of the NSP, we looked at the issue of information for prevention, really appreciated the work at the Walter Sisulu Hospital and that partnership with Mtata TCC. The lack of the use of technology is something that we need to work on and invest so that there is more data and more access to information and resources. And we thought that some students were involved, but there isn't much research really being done on this issue of gender-based violence. And so we want to encourage, we could do more research actually on this so that we are able to study this as an academic research area. So there's a lot of interest in this. But ultimately what we want with this is that, like with COVID, on a day-to-day basis, we want to know ward by ward what is happening with GBV. And that data is not available. And so we want to be able to push to make sure that there's integrated data from health, from justice, from police, and from social workers. The data needs to be available. And so in terms of recommendations, we basically said what we want to do is to work on a structure for how we want to work together to create this vision and the implementation going forward. The first thing we want to do, and that is why, Sokupa, your name is in the presentation, because you are the hub manager of DDM, that you will facilitate Ndade's and then invite us as the UN if this is how we want to move forward on this. We have the key stakeholders that must be involved. Traditional leaders, NPA, the Executive Mayor's Office, development agencies around, because we understand there's some excellent work that's happening, like with FA